everyone. My name is Pawo Choyning Dorji, and I'm a photographer. And I also like to call myself a wanderer. So the third part of this talk, I wanted to talk about the circle of karma. And why I called it the circle of karma is because in Bhutan, everything revolves around what we call as Lejumde. And this chapter, I wanted to focus more on the environment and the world we live in. And even that, I think the one thing that we Bhutanese should know and should be proud of is the reverence and the respect that we have for this world we live in, for the environment, for Mother Earth. So in this photo, you can see a lady in Paro harvesting, actually planting her rice, and a young lady in Dopshari with her fresh harvest. Everything, in a way, I keep going back to this, but that circle, that cycle, I think that is something that is very ingrained in our culture and in our identity as Bhutanese, as a Buddhist country. Everything we give back and we get. So, the law of karma. These are horses in the valley of Bumtang and the beautiful rice fields of Paro, and farmers in the village of Shaba harvesting rice under beautiful rainbows. And the reason why I put rainbows is because I think it's that Buddhist message, about rainbows. It is said that the Buddha said that everything in life is like a rainbow. Because when you see the rainbow, it is the product of cause and conditions coming together. You have rain, you have sun, you have light coming at a certain angle, and suddenly with that cause and condition, something so vivid, something so beautiful, something so real is created. And yet, when we go and grasp the rainbow, it's inherently non-existent. So that is what the Buddha said, that in life, everything, be it the joys, be it the sufferings, all phenomena is simply a product of cause, condition coming together. They are so real, they are so vivid, they are so colorful, they might be so beautiful like a rainbow, but when we actually try and grasp them, it is inherently empty and non-existent. And the message behind this by the Buddha saying that all phenomena is like a rainbow is that we can enjoy the rainbow, appreciate the beauty of a rainbow, but do not get attached to it. I think most people, even children, when they see a rainbow, they know it is beautiful. They know it is vivid, but nobody is attached to it. Nobody cries, oh no, the rainbow has disappeared, So the Buddha's message is that all of life, all of phenomena is just like a rainbow. Appreciate it, but don't get attached to it. I also wanted to talk about mountains in Bhutan. We are in the Himalayas after all. I think Bhutanese should be proud that in the world right now, the most number of virgin peaks, meaning mountains that have not been climbed by human beings, lies in our country. And that is a reflection of the reverence and respect that we Bhutanese have for the world we live in. And in Bhutan, because we believe that these magnificent, mountains are abodes for deities and hamors and all that has, because of that, we respect it and we don't climb it. It's like the Chumalharis, and I think that is something so beautiful. And I think, when you look at the world right now, the one highest point in the world where no human being has set foot lies in our country, and that is Kankar Pinsum. I think every Bhutanese should take so much pride in that, to say that, yes, we are a country like that. We are a country that refused to succumb to the temptations of economic development and profit, that we have continued to, respect the world we live in, and we will continue to be like this. And I hope no matter what happens, as our country becomes more ambitious, as we become more developed, we keep our mountains off limits for people. And that being said, even forests, I always tell my foreign friends that I am so proud that I come from a Bhutan where it is a law that our country must have a certain percentage of forest coverage. Again, that goes back to this whole circle of karma and how we must respect Mother Earth, because in the end, Mother Earth gives back to us. So that is very important. I have a property in Paro, and it's sometimes quite annoying because, trees grow, and I love trees, but then if I want to cut down a tree, I have to get special permission from the forestry. And then if the tree is of a certain size, then I'm not allowed to cut it. And I think Bhutan is one of the few countries where you could end up in prison for cutting down a tree. So that is how important we value trees. Again, something all of us should be so proud of. This is a photo that I took while I was camping in Singye Dzong. So I was in Singye Dzong for 2 months, and there's no bathrooms there. So I used to dread waking up in the morning. But one night I woke up and I went to pee, and this is the sight I saw. And that is the mist blowing through Singye Dzong and the stars coming up. And even mist and fog, we Bhutanese have such a nice way of describing it. It is believed that the protector of Singye Dzong is called Zola Rakhi. And apparently he has attendants, people who help him. And his one attendant is the fog, and his one attendant is the rain and mist. How beautiful is that? And it is believed that every time a new person comes into the Singye Dzong Valley, the attendants of Zola Rakhi comes to check this person. So you are met with mist, rain, fog. I think that is just such an amazing way of looking at elements of nature. Other people might be like, the rain, you can't see anything with the fog. But how nice that we believe that these elements of nature are actually protectors of the deities. Again, this is a photo that I took in Singye Dzong, and this is the Milky Way. And it is amazing, to be able to capture a photograph like this. Number one, you need a decent camera. But the other important thing is there has to be very little light pollution, meaning city lights. Because when you talk about cities, big cities like New York, Chicago, they give out so much light. For example, Las Vegas, with all their casino lights, you can actually see it from space. But in Bhutan, because we are so small, even our biggest cities like Thimphu and Phuntsholling, in terms of light pollution, it's quite little actually. So in Bhutan, if you go to the right place at the right time with the right camera, you will be able to see capture a photo like this. So even in the darkness, I think our country has so much beauty to, share with us. Now, this photo I took as I trekked up into Lunana. It's very interesting. The yak herder, the chop as we call them, right? The lunaps up there. He told me a story. He said that as a child, when he used to walk up and down these mountains would be covered in snow and ice throughout the year. He was like from summer, autumn, winter, always covered in snow. And he said, but, every year I observe that the snow line is going higher and higher and higher. And he's saying that the snow and ice are melting. And of course, me being this educated, so-called modern person, I said, oh, that is what we call global warming. And this uneducated, this yak herder from the mountains said something very, insightful. He said, I do not know what global warming means. I know that it does mean that people in the cities are consuming more and more. He said, I don't really care about that. He said, but what I'm worried is that the snow and the ice are home for the snow lion. And I'm afraid that one day, because of whatever's happening out in the outside world, that the snow and ice will disappear from Bhutan, and the snow lion will not have home, and the snow lion will forever disappear from our worlds. Now, it's quite interesting, because if you actually look up, the snow lion is a mythical animal. It does not exist. Just like the jachung, just like the dragon. They are all mythical animals. They do not exist. But the interesting thing is that the snow lion is the animal that represents the enlightened mind, just like the dragon, just like the jachung. So, in a way, what this uneducated yak herder who lives away from anything, modern, is telling me is that because of human greed, because of this intoxication to consume more, want more, because of that, we are slowly chasing enlightenment away from our world. And that is a very profound message to come from someone, who we consider backward, someone we consider uneducated. And this is a photo, again, I took in Lunana. And I know that, as a small country, Bhutan, we do not consume, we do not produce as much. But then, because of the rest of the world, we are suffering. And this is proof. This photo was taken in Lunana, around 4,500 meters above sea level. And what you're seeing is basically that. It is a sandstorm up in the mountain. And that is happening because of global warming, because we human beings are unfortunately causing the cause and conditions to come together where animals like the snow lion, like the chachung, and like the dragon are slowly being driven out of our world. Concluding chapter for this talk, I wanted to finish it off with talking about something that I've been working on, and that is a project to try and tell the stories of the school teachers of Bhutan. I think education is something very important. School teachers in general, they have a very, very important responsibility. I remember there's a saying that says, I am a teacher and I touch tomorrow. And that is so true. The teachers of Bhutan have a very, very sacred responsibility because they are educating, they are training the Bhutan of tomorrow. And I started this project to tell the stories, the sacrifices, the hardships that the teachers of Bhutan go through, particularly in remote areas like Lunana. And that's why this talk is called Lunana, a yak in a classroom. So this is in Lunana, two little kids in Tenche. And the amazing thing about kids that I have discovered as I travel around, and I'm not talking about necessarily in Bhutan, even in countries like Afghanistan, I've realized is that children actually at their heart is full of confidence, but it is because of society and the world they live in that that confidence is shaken and lost, I think. So that's what I've discovered. The more remote I've gone, the more confident children I've found. Even in areas of Pakistan, I traveled to remote areas in the Hunza Valley, and such amazing children I found. But anyway, I will touch upon that a bit later. This is Lupin Dechin. He is currently the principal of the deaf school in Paro. And he has an amazing story. And the reason why I started to start this project was because of individuals like him. Lupin Dechin told me that he was a teacher posted in Lingji. And he told me that he was the only teacher in his school back then. And he said he was the chowkidar, he was the gardener, he was the English teacher, the Dzongkha teacher, all rolled into one. And how he taught there, and he said that because Lingji at that time had no electricity, they had no gas, and it was a very difficult job to collect firewood to cook his meals. And he told me that he would have to collect yak dung. He would have to collect yak dung and use that to start fires, and with that fire, cook his meals. And he said that every day I would have to climb this mountain to where all the yaks are kept, and I would collect yak dung from there and bring it down and then use that to cook my food. And he said, then I realized that it's just so time consuming and so exhausting to climb this mountain up and down every time and carrying a bag of yak dung. So he said he brought a yak down and he tied this yak in the classroom. And then the yak would poo there, and then he would use the dung from there to cook. And it's amazing. I mean, you can just picture it. A highland school, dedicated teacher, studious students, all studying, and then a yak there. And this is something that could happen only in Bhutan. And that is something we should be proud of. Like this whole talk I was giving about respect and having reverence for the world we live in, for the animals, believing in this cause and condition and the circle of life, karma, all that. Because of that, we are a people who would actually take the yak and put the yak in the classroom to get the dung. Again, talking about teachers in Highlands, this is Leben Namgi Doji. He's a school teacher posted in Lunana. And this was him teaching his two students, Doji Choden and Chimi Dem. And Leben Namgi gave me this touching account of how his students would have to walk long distances to come to school. And he was telling me that, like for example, like Doji Choden and Chimi Dem, they would walk for about 45 minutes to make it to school. And he said that there, the parents, they don't, because they are up in the mountains herding yaks, they don't really realize the value of education. So he was saying that, for the parents, sending a child to school, they don't see it as the child gaining education, but then it is the parents losing an extra hand to work in the house, to work in the fields. So they don't want to send their children to school. So he said that as part of the government's initiative to try and get everyone educated, he is given rations. So he tells the parents, oh, send them to school, they'll get free lunch. And with that, like a bonus will be the education. So that's how the parents actually send their children to school. The parents are like, oh, they'll get free lunch. And, with that free lunch, fine if they get, something called education. And I think that is, the Buddha always talks about skillful means. And that is such a skillful way of working with highlanders and making sure that children get education. And it is very touching, actually. It is very touching. It is like sometimes Bhutanese parents, they give that white lie so that the child, gets what they want. This is a little bit off topic from what we are talking about, but my Tsawelam Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche, he gave me this touching story of him and his grandfather. And he was telling me that his grandfather, Lam Sonam Zangpo, Meme Lama Rinpoche, so Rinpoche always wanted to play with a sword as a child. And one side of Lam Sonam Zangpo was that he felt sad to say no because he knew Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche would be hurt and he would cry. But in one way, he didn't want him to play with a dangerous thing. So what Lam Sonam Zangpo did was he took the knife and he rubbed stone on it and made it so blunt. And then he gave it to Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche. And Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche used that to play around, and he thought he was playing with the actual knife. And he was like, oh, So that skillful way, just like how Lam Sonam Zangpo did it, and just like how our government works to try and give education to parents who don't know the value of education right now, I think it's so compassionate and so loving. But anyway, Leben Namgye was telling me that because his students like Dorji Choden and Chimi Dem, they have to walk far distances to come to school to get the free lunch. They start from school early at like 8 o'clock, and he's waiting there for the kids to come. And he's saying because it's so far, he waits. So 8:30, 9, 9:30, 10, they don't show up. So then he has to leave school and he has to set off looking for them. And then he sets off walking towards their village, which is like 45 minutes to an hour away, looking for these kids. And then as he goes there, because the walk is so long, the kids have somehow, on the way to school, gotten distracted. And he was telling me that they're there playing in the dust, rolling around in the mud, playing chase, playing, hide and seek, playing this ekrupa, where they toss the stone. And then he has to pick them up from there, walk them to school, clean them up, cook lunch for them. And then, as all this, the bonus comes in the education. And then after that, he has to walk them back home. And I think that is, it's so amazing that Bhutan has teachers like that. So I know that, there might be teachers watching this show, and I want to offer my sincere gratitude to you all for doing so much to safeguard the tomorrow of Bhutan. This is a photo again in Lunanam, and I think for me, this is I would say, the most beautiful classroom in the world. You have the dedicated teacher, you have the students studying there, you have the mountains, the environment that defines Bhutan. And you just have a couple of yaks grazing on the field, which is so amazing, I think. This is Dorji Choden, the girl in the classroom earlier. And when I went to her house, she was there sitting in the corner playing with these 5 pebbles. They call it ek rupa, I think, these days. She was playing with that, and it dawned on me that those 5 pebbles are the only toy she has ever had. And this girl was amazing. I will show you later again. But she was exuding confidence. And earlier I was talking about the cow herder from eastern Bhutan, right? The Wadipa who knew how to say Hamchiki Tube. Similarly, this young girl who has never been out of Lunana, which means she does not know what it feels like to switch on a light switch and to have something like a light bulb come on. She's not seen a car. Forget about an aeroplane. She does not even own a toy, a Barbie doll or that. And all she has is those stones. And I feel like even with that, there's this confidence about her. And these are her friends up in Lunana. And again, as I was saying, all these children, they do not know how a car looks. They must have seen photos and videos, but they have not ridden in a car. They do not know what a light switch is. They don't know what it feels like to sit on a toilet pot, okay? But that sense of confidence in their ability and themselves, that was something really amazing. It's quite sad because, as I was saying earlier, children in their natural state, I think that is the natural state of human beings, we are confident. I talked about this earlier about Taktsang and Singye Dzong, that lion-like, majestic, fearless, noble, that is human quality. And that is there in children. That is there. These children in the highlands show that. They show that they have that. They exude that. But what happens is, because of the society we live in, we put expectations on them. This is how you're supposed to behave. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're not supposed to do. Because of that, the expectation bestowed upon them by society, they lose the sense of confidence. They become unsure about themselves. And then they have that fear. If I do this, what will they think? If I don't do this, what will they think? I'm doing this. Am I doing it the right way? Am I doing it enough? And that you can see in all the cities, not only in Bhutan, elsewhere too. And actually, I'm a parent too. And this is why this is a topic that is so dear to me, and I care so much about it. And I heard that in Bhutan, in certain schools, school children, the age of these children, they tell their parents, please drop me to school in a Land Cruiser. If you cannot drop me to school in a Land Cruiser, drop me off here and I will walk to school, because I don't want my children, my friends, to see me coming in a non-Land Cruiser car. And that is so sad. That really breaks my heart. It's quite heart-wrenching, actually. And I feel really sad about that, because what must that young mind feel to be worried that much about the kind of car he or she is dropped to school in? And to be frank, he or she is thinking like this not because of themselves. He or she has become like that because of the expectations put on them by the society they live in and the family and the parents. So I think it is something that we should all look at, reflect, and think about it deeply. And as I end, I want to share with you this image of Pemzam. Pemzam is a young little girl who lives in Sojong in the Lunana Valley. And she is, I think, one of the purest of them all that I have come across. Her parents have separated. Her mother lives away herding yaks. Her father is an alcoholic, so she's being raised by her aged grandmother. And as I was saying, even though she has these challenges, that sense of confidence, that sense of knowing her place, those qualities that I keep touching upon, the cow herder from eastern Bhutan, Angye Tinle from Laya with the goiter, or Aja Pemba, who reminiscence about how he cooked for the second queen, all that, and the old man trying to divert the river. These are all stories of Bhutan. These are all stories of people who many of us in Thimphu and the urban towns consider as backward. Even the yak herder who told me about the glaciers melting, these are all people who we consider as backward. But they are the ones sending the most profound message back to us. And it is my hope that whatever I have blabbered on for the past hour or so leaves you all reflecting on this. Pemzam, when I went to Lunana, she loves to sing and dance. So I leave you with Pemzam up in Lunana, singing and dancing, and her one audience, which is her yak. I hope everyone stays well and everyone finds that heart of contentment and that mind that is accepting, and everyone finds, not finds, but rather everyone discovers that happiness is the journey and not the destination. So thank you, Tashtele, and here is Pemzam from Lunana for everyone. Thank you so much.
Met boogie tame na mitna gidu mena ham chewi zamning dina. Met boogie tame na mitna gidu mena ham chewi zamning dina. Zum 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 chule bi zum do chalam lam ngano wisem ka zule bi min chu chu. Nam ke boogie dau mena jam tuna inyamu men nyam gawi zamning dina. Nam ke boogie dau mena jam tuna inyamu men nyam gawi zamning dina.